the Detroit Pistons will have a lot of money this offseason. As recently as a few days ago, Tory Weaver confirmed that the Pistons will be aggressive this offseason. One of the people that the Pistons are rumored to be interested in, it seems like we have an idea of what they're going to be expecting. What player this is and what kind of contract they're looking for will be talked about in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to our YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button on the way to 3,000 subscribers. Trying to show Locked On we are the best and fastest growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons and hit that subscribe button. And per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about a lot of these exit interviews that the Detroit Pistons had. Troy Weaver spoke, Dwayne Casey spoke, Keelan Hayes spoke. We'll talk about some of the quotes that really stuck out to me later on the podcast. But first, the Pistons offseason and specifically free agency, I feel like stuff is already starting to get, maybe not exciting, but starting to get a little interesting here. It's been rumored for a while now that one of the people that the Pistons will be interested in the offseason could be Miles Bridges. He did go to Michigan State. Obviously, there's some ties there. But there's been going on rumors for the entire season that a dude who's going to the restricted free agency, who had himself a breakout year as a most improved candidate, will be at the top or towards the top of the Pistons free agency list. And it's been talked about throughout the season. We know how much will he be commanding? How much does he want? How much is Charlotte willing to pay him? What's his value across the league, etc. It seems like we might have that answer right now, or sort of that kind of answer. And we'll talk about that, what I mean, in a minute. But a few days ago, we had a report come out that Miles Bridges, after his camp declined a 4-year, $60 million contract, this is on Bleacher Report, they have confirmed that he is expected to command a maximum salary that could total 5 years, $173 million this offseason. Now, that averages out per year to around $34.6 million a year. Now, that does not mean that's how much he'll be getting paid every season. I don't know how they would like to construct the contract. It could be an escalating one that 24, 27, 20, and then it gets higher, or it could be one that gets lower as the years go on. But either way, he's looking at a contract that totals up to $173 million. So the question is, if the Pistons are interested in Miles Bridges, should they be willing to spend that type of money on him? Is he a good enough player for that? Is he worth gambling on? And I'm going to tell you, I got to tell you guys, man, I really like Miles Bridges, but $173 million, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. However, I think this is something that could work in the Pistons' favor. And I'll say this. He is a restricted free agent. So he can be looking for that 5-year 173. But that doesn't mean he's going to be getting that 5-year 173. I'm sure that what the Charlotte Hornets are going to do, which would be the most smart thing for them to do, I hope that they're at least this competent to do this. I don't think that they wouldn't do this. Is, let him hit restricted free agency. There's a fly flying around in front of me. What the hell? Anyways, let him hit restricted free agency, sit back. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, sit back and just be like, hey, go ahead, test your waters. We'll sit back. We'll wait. We won't even bother you. We won't hit you up. We won't do anything. We'll sit back and we'll chill. We're just going to sit here. And then Miles Bridges can go out to the teams that are interested in him. And he has to find a contract that he likes from one of those teams, come to an agreement on that contract, and then Charlotte has a decision to match it. Just because he wants 5 years, 173, does not mean that's what other teams will offer him. I highly, highly, highly doubt that he's going to take a qualifying offer, which would mean, if you guys remember going back years, with Greg Monroe and the Detroit Pistons, the Pistons offered him a contract. He thought he was worth more. He wasn't getting the contract offers he thought he deserved out in restricted free agency. So he said, screw it. I'm just going to take this qualifying offer. I'll take, I think it was like $5 million or something around that time. Then become an unrestricted free agent next season and just pick whatever team I want to without the concern of the Pistons matching me. And he ended up going to Milwaukee for however much he made. Anyways, my point is I highly doubt that's the route Miles Bridges is going to take. So it's going to take another team to agree that he's worth 5 years, $173 million. So basically my point is I don't think that he'll actually get that. He can command that. He can want that. but I highly doubt that that's going to be something that he actually gets. Another team will have to agree to that, and I just don't see another team agreeing to pay him $34 million a year. However, if that's how much he actually does expect and how much he actually gets offered, and the Pistons have to try to play up to that kind of contract, I don't think they should go after Miles Bridges. Now, listen, I've read these synergy stats to you guys before. We're going to do it again right here. And also, real quick, I want to point out this little incident that he had in the play-in game. He's known as a really good guy, a really great teammate, down-to-earth dude. I really liked what he said in the press conference after his mistake. But yeah, obviously that was a mistake. I know I saw some people, it's not many people, but I saw some people like, oh, the character concerns. Do you really want to pay this about? I think that's incredibly overblown. He made a mistake. He owned up to it immediately. I really like that. He's, from all accounts, he's been a great person, a great teammate. So I don't think that should be considered at all. But anyways, his synergy chart is really, really nice to look at. Spot up, he's in the 62nd percentile, good. Transition, 62nd percentile, good. Isolation, 72nd percentile, very good. Pick and roll ball handler, 86th percentile, excellent. Pick and roll man, 65th percentile, very good. Handoff, 82nd percentile, very good. Cut, 95th percentile, excellent. He is really good offensively. He's much better. I've seen this argument happening with Miles Bridges versus Jeremy Grant. Miles Bridges is better than Jeremy Grant. Let's just cut the crap. He's better than Jeremy Grant. He's more athletic than Jeremy Grant. I know people just think he might be just a dunker. He's not that. He's just a all-around, just better offensive player than Jeremy Grant. Now, Jeremy may be more consistent defensively, even though I've seen Jeremy's defense slip with his time with the Pistons. I think Miles Bridges can be better than him defensively. But overall, I think Miles Bridges is simply a better player than Jeremy Grant. Now, do I think he's around $15 million better than Jeremy Grant? No. And again, if he has to command that kind of contract, the Pistons should just walk away from that. Shouldn't even entertain that. However, again, I don't think he's going to be given that contract, even though he wants that contract. I'm not going to believe a bluff that he could possibly take the qualifying offer. I don't believe that either. So I don't think he'll get that much. I do, however, think that the Pistons will have to overpay to try to get him away from Charlotte. Because if you are going to offer a restricted free agent contract, you really better hope that you're offering an offer that the team that he's currently with is not going to match, because you're wasting 3 days of free agency that you can't make offers to other players. You got money tied up. You have to sit there and wait. So you better hope that you're making an offer that to Miles Bridges that the Charlotte Hornets will not match. Now, I think that's lesser, like I said, lesser than $173 million. But probably, I think, I thought, what I originally thought he would get was around $26 to $28 million. Now, $34 million is much more than that. But if I'm the Pistons, I would be willing to go 26, 28, to be honest, if they really liked him. $34 million over 5 years? No. Can't happen. Can't do it. However, like I said, I'm really calling into question whether he'll actually get that. So you can look into that rumor as simply what Miles is trying to get. But to be honest, until we get to free agency, what I would tell you guys is don't read into that too much, because he needs a team to cooperate on that. I don't think Charlotte's going to go right out and just say, hey, you go. We're going to give you exactly what you want, because they would have done that this last season. They're going to wait. They're going to be smart. They're going to want to see if another team is foolish enough to offer them, and then they'll be faced with their tough decision. However, I think we should just wait until the free agency and see how it looks then, because I don't think that's how it's going to be. When we come back, we'll talk about some of these quotes that we got from Troy Weaver. By the way, I just want to give you guys a little heads up. I think Troy Weaver gained 800 points from me for what he said in the presser, his exit interviews. We'll talk about that when we come back on why he's gaining so much respect from me from what he said in this exit interview. But first, I have to tell you guys about some of our sponsors. First up, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your sports betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs, and the start of the Major League Baseball season. Yes, baseball is finally back. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action today. And if you head to the website at betonline.net, you'll see that it's not just baseball or basketball. You got boxing, football, golf, hockey, horse racing, martial arts, soccer, tennis, all kinds of things that you can go out there and have fun with. So again, make sure you head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you have not already, head to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We're on our road to 3,000 subscribers, continuing to show Locked On that we're the best and fastest growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, if you're one of the 50% of people who are watching this on YouTube and haven't hit that subscribe on, or if you're even listening to this on the podcast and haven't hit the subscribe on over at the YouTube channel, do that. Best way to support the podcast. I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, man, this offseason is going to be really interesting. Free agency, trades, all that. But to start off the offseason, we obviously got the exit interviews, and we heard from just about everybody. I'm not going to lie, I don't think that we've heard from Saddiq Bey. At least I haven't seen it. I was looking around for. I don't think we've heard from Saddiq yet. I know we heard from. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. I see it now. I'm gonna have to go look at it myself. I didn't see Saddiq's. I saw Isaiah's. I saw Cade's. I was actually looking for Saddiq's. I couldn't find it, but now I see it. But either way, we're not going to talk about any of those guys. The ones I really, the exit interview that I really want to talk about, that really like got some quotes that raised my eyebrows, or at least got some brownie points with me, was from Troy Weaver. Let me just say this about Troy Weaver. Everyone seems to like Troy Weaver. I like Troy Weaver. I think he's fine. I think he's done a nice job. I think the one trade that I've said over and over that I just really did not like by him and never will like is the Bruce Brown trade, who's out there balling out with the Brooklyn Nets. However, I think he's done a nice job. Obviously, he's went up and got his guys in the draft. That's where he's going to make his money. That's what he was known for in OKC, and so far it looks good. Saddiq, hit. Isaiah Stewart, for where he was picked, hit. Killian Hayes is looking like he's trending up and could possibly become a hit. Cade Cunningham, it wasn't too hard to pick Cade, but Cade is a hit. So far, he's done a really good job in the draft. I think you have to give him that. Even if, let's say, Killian doesn't plan out to where he expected him to be, or he doesn't end up, that little rise that we saw for like the last month of the season doesn't continue next season, which I think it will. But either way, let's just say it doesn't hit. You're talking about 3 or 4 of your first round picks in 2 seasons being hits. That's really good. You'll take a 75% draft rate or draft success in your career if he can do something like that. So I think he's done a good job with that. Some signings, I thought he did okay job with some of his signings, but overall, my point is I think he's done a fine job with the Pistons. I think Pistons fans should feel confident with him as the GM. It's not like Joe Dumars at the end of the era when he had just like 7 straight years, 8 straight years of just constantly destroying stuff and ruining stuff. Like, it wasn't like that or anything. Or whenever, I believe Joe left in like 2014. I think that's when Stan came. But either way, it wasn't like, every year you're just like, my God, dude, he's just going to keep ruining stuff. And it wasn't like Stan Van Gundy either, when you kind of feel like, oh, he's good with the coaching. But, man, a lot of these free agent contracts, I just don't really vibe with it. I think Troy Weaver has done a nice job and has earned some trust from us. But that doesn't mean he's been absolutely perfect. And what I like the most from Troy Weaver that I saw in his press conference is the fact that he understood that he's not perfect, and he actively took responsibility for some of the things that he felt like he could have done better. Now, I don't know which reporter asked him this or anything. However, he mentioned how him and Dwayne Casey spoke about, Marvin Bagley, and he accepted that, I didn't do a good job with this. I didn't do a good job with the front court. We needed more athleticism in the front court. I told Dwayne that I didn't give him enough athleticism up front, and that was hurting the team, and I had to go out there and try to correct that, and that was a mistake I made. This is something that I absolutely love to see. It's not like some world-beating quote. It's not like some, life-changing thing. I'll read the exact quote right here. He said, quote unquote, "I feel like I struggled early as the team did. I'm right in there with the coaches. I think I got better as the season progressed. Coach and I talked about this. I didn't give him enough tools, and the Bagley trade addressed that. We didn't have enough athleticism up front." This is the thing for me. I'm all about accountability. I really like guys who are straight up and honest and not like, trying to sugarcoat things, beat around the bush, and just give you like the easy answer to the media, like the quarterback friendly answer, when, they're saying the right things, not really the real things, just simply the right things. That's why I always liked Stan Van Gundy when he was here. I know people are it's very split about how Stan Van Gundy is perceived here. But one thing about Stan was he kept it real every time he spoke. He was not hiding anything. If he felt like something, he was going to say it. If you asked him a question, he would answer it honestly. And I absolutely love that from people. But even more so than that, that's just preference. But even more so than that, you really want to see a guy, someone especially in high order, someone who has a lot of power, be able to criticize himself, be able to take criticism, and be honest and evaluate himself, and be able to take accountability for things. And that quote, when I was at work, I pulled up Twitter, just going down, and I saw some of the beat writers tweet this out. I was like, I really love seeing that, because he's right. The Pistons didn't have a lot of athleticism up front. They really lacked athleticism throughout the roster, to be honest, but preferably up front. And you guys remember throughout the offseason, I begged for a rim running lob threat. Throughout the season, I told you guys that's the biggest need for this team. Some people try to poo-poo that, act like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, blah, blah, blah. No, I said in this podcast day after day after day, and you guys will remember, you guys can back this up, that I said that's their number one need. That would unlock the offense. Killian, Cade, all these guys, they need a rim runner, a lob threat to really unlock the offense. It just wasn't going to work without that. You needed it. They need a guy who can go up and catch lobs. And he went out and addressed that. And I'm not going to lie, it does make me feel a little bit better because that was something I thought that the team needed. I know it was an argument about, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. Obviously, Troy Weaver agreed. He saw quickly that the offense needed that. They lacked that, and it would take them to the next level. And the fact that he acknowledged that, hey, I wasn't perfect at the beginning of the year. I didn't address a need that we should have gotten. I didn't, it wasn't high enough on my priority list. I quickly realized that. And another thing is, a lot of guys, a lot of GMs, a lot of coaches, they're very stubborn. And he could have just got it and been like, hey, Dwayne, make this roster work, man. I believe in it. It's not the fact that we need this or need that. I got this roster. I want to see him play better. Make it play better. Like, go out there and do your job. No, he realized quickly, okay, I probably should have done this. Instead of sitting here being stubborn and trying to force the issue, let me go and address that issue. Let me go out and try to correct this mistake I did. Let's go ahead and get Marvin Bagley for the cheap, and let's see how that works. I think this would help. I made a mistake. Let's see how I can correct it. Again, I think that's a great quality to have in your GM. And honestly, I don't think there's been something that Troy Weaver has said that has made me feel more confident in him, to be honest, than that statement right there. Like, I know he's had a bunch of other fun quotes, like the clip is always empty. Like, I know he's always said fun stuff and things that, catch the, headlines and stuff. But really, I that right there really shows me that he's a GM who's not afraid to acknowledge a mistake, not afraid to evaluate himself, not afraid to do something differently once he realizes. My big thing too, and I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but one of the go-to sayings I always go by, and I learned it, I'm not going to lie, I learned it from watching First Take for years from Max Kellerman, which I think Max is actually pretty smart, I'm not going to lie. But either way, outside that Andre Iguodala BS, that was insane. Either way, my point is that he used to always say something. He would say something at the beginning of the season, and he would say something differently at the end of the year, and everyone would be like, oh, what's going on? What, you're changing your tune, blah, blah. And something Max always said was, as the facts change, so will my opinion. And I think that's big for people in power and people that have to make decisions. You can feel a certain type of way at the beginning, but as the facts change, your opinion should too. Like, you shouldn't stay stubborn. And I think Troy Weaver just exhibited that in this quote that, hey, I made a mistake. I needed to address it. I can be better. This is how I could have been better. I think that's really good. Because, again, there's a lot of GMs that don't think that way. There's a lot of GMs who just double down and continue to make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. So I really love that. I spent 7 minutes talking about that quote right there. But I really do think it's that big of a deal. I think I'm serious when I say that might be the biggest, the best quote I've seen from Troy Weaver since he took over the Pistons, and the one that will stick with me the longest, because that gives me a lot of confidence in him and his ability to correct things, because he's not going to be stubborn. He had a bunch of other quotes in here. Obviously, they talked for quite a while. There's going to be something else I want to talk about in the final segment. It has to do with Jeremy Grant, obviously. But yeah, he said a lot of things. If you guys haven't seen that interview, make sure you guys go to YouTube. You guys can look up, exit interviews from the Pistons. Look their names up. You'll see it. Also, you can follow some of the beat writers. I'm currently looking at Amari Sankofa's Twitter because they tweeted out everything. You can also head over to Rod Beard, who's not the beat writer anymore. He's now senior editor, but he still tweeted out everything. So if you want to see everything that was said, you guys can either go watch it on YouTube or just simply go to one of the beat writers' Twitters and just follow. They followed everything. They tweeted everything out. So, and like I said, he did tweet a lot. And he did, like I said, he said that they were going to be extremely aggressive this offseason. He said he really liked the top of this draft. He felt like that at the top of the draft this year, there's just as good as talent as last year, which, he's talking about Cade. He talked about Cade being a connector, why they got him being as good of a leader as he is, all that kind of stuff. Again, if you want to see all the other stuff he said, simply go check it out. But I want to focus on what he said about Jeremy Grant and what this could mean for Jeremy Grant in the offseason. And also, like we said in the first segment, what it could possibly mean for Miles Bridges this offseason if the Pistons will actually go after him. But we'll talk about that when we come back. First, I have to tell you guys about some of our sponsors. First up is your guys' favorite sponsor, Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, and it's thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not even really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you ever tried the Puffs bar? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting protein bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're an absolute treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. And get this, it's not just the Puffs bars. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. They're low calorie and high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They taste better and they're better for you. A typical candy bar can be anywhere to 200 to 300 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to Built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be absolutely blown away. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And while being this healthy, it has all kinds of delicious flavors as well. Mint brownie, coconut almond, a new flavor, white chocolate cookies and cream. You guys know my favorite is peanut butter flavor. You got cherry barcia, strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, all kinds of flavors. And if you're constantly checking out Built.com, you'll see that they're constantly coming out with new limited time flavors all the time as well. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how, but they pull it off every single time. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever. And then let me tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. Why endure often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning like, is your Odyssey an LX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home or in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 from a chain store and only $216 from Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business full of serve it doing-yourselves over the past 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every single customer. They have everything you could possibly need. Brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even a new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Again, go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right? Locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. You guys get all the jazz on the road to 3,000 subscribers. Trying to show Locked On will be the best and fastest growing fan base at the Locked On Network. So again, head to the Locked On Pistons YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. And like I said, there's all kinds of quotes that you guys can follow from not just Troy Weaver over the past few days, from Dwayne Casey, Killian Hayes, Kay Cunningham, Sadiq, Isaiah Stewart. You heard from a lot of players. Kojo, I believe, was the very first interview. So if you want to see all those interviews, go to YouTube, look them up, or you can just simply follow some of the beat writers. But one of the other things that Troy Weaver talked about that really, I wanted to talk about, and he did say something about Killian Hayes that I personally like, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure a lot of people aren't freaking out about that. But it was about Jeremy Grant, and he was asked about extending or trading Jeremy Grant this offseason, and I'll read you guys the quotes. He says, Jeremy demonstrated his efficiency in the way he fits with the group. I'm curious. I'm not sure. The deadline, people had their feelers out, but nothing blew us away. Maybe something comes down the pipe. We'll see. He also added that he doesn't expect an avalanche of interest in Grant. He says, some teams will feel like we can add a player or two. Maybe the phone rings a little bit more. I'm not sure. The landscape of the NBA changes weekly. We'll see. Now, I think all that says is that he's going to be traded, to be honest. That's the way I looked at it. If he didn't want to trade Jeremy, he would have just shut it down. He would have said, hey, we're interested in extending Jeremy. We really like the way Jeremy's moving forward with us. That's the way we're going to go here. The way he said it, but not said it, we're going to keep him on the block. If a team gives us an offer we like, we'll take it. That's basically what he was saying. If we get the offer that we are expecting, then we'll trade Jeremy. That's basically what I got from that. However, there's also something else that he said before that I actually really wanted to focus on, and that will transition us into more about how they should handle Jeremy this offseason. And I'm kind of going to run a victory lap as well. I'm not going to lie. But Troy Weaver also said, quote unquote, when talking about Jeremy Grant and how he handled this season, he said, quote, it was really rough early on, and then he had the injury. when he came back, Coach and I talked to him about playing a more efficient game, and he did it to his credit. Now, who guys do you guys think in the Pistons community that hosts a daily podcast that talked a lot throughout the season about Jeremy Grant's shot diet being piss poor? Who throughout the season, guys, do you think talked about Jeremy Grant needing to take better shots, playing a more efficient game, eliminating long twos, eliminating the long drawn out ISOs, playing more ball movement, playing within the offense, letting others create for him? Who was the main guy, in the Pistons community that said that throughout the entire season? It would be this guy. And who, got flack throughout the season from Jeremy Grant fans saying, you don't know what you're talking about. He's the leading scorer on the team. Like, he's doing all this, he's doing that, blah, blah. Who took flack for all that and had to fight that battle all season? That would be me. So when the GM of the team comes out after the season and publicly confirms that him and the coach had to speak to Jeremy about playing a more quote-unquote efficient game, who do you think is going to take a victory lap? That's this guy right here. I'm taking a victory lap. Because I had said all season that it was a major issue. And if it wasn't that big of an issue, if it wasn't a major issue, Troy Weaver wouldn't have came out and said what he said. He didn't need to say that part, but it was a big issue. It was very clear it was a big issue. And it was a big issue the way he was fitting with this team and how it was affecting everyone else on the court. Now, the fact that Troy Weaver gave him credit for the way he came back and tried to play a more efficient game, he did. I'll give him credit for that. We talked about that on the podcast. It looked like that Jeremy was legitimately trying to play more efficient and more within the offense. Now, he still had his hiccups, but you could see that he was trying to. However, what this tells me is exactly what I was saying throughout the season, is that Troy Weaver realizes that Jeremy's game does not fit with the rest of these guys. He realizes that Jeremy had to be basically, I wouldn't say forced, but basically had to be talked to and literally, I would say unwillingly tried his hardest to try to fit with everybody. And I'm not going to say anything, but, how should I say this? Let's just say I don't believe Jeremy was very happy about, or not very happy. I don't believe Jeremy is ecstatic about that being the way he would have to play moving forward. And that's how I'll leave it at that. However, again, like what this tells me is that Troy Weaver is aware of this. And I think that's why he'll be traded this offseason. He also went on to say at some other point that Cade, when they asked him about, should Cade be playing on or off ball, he said Cade is a connector. He should have the ball in his hands. If you notice in crunch time, the ball's always in his hands, and he knows how to get people the ball, basically. So, we've talked about this. Actually, that was Dwayne Casey who said that. But either way, we've talked about in the podcast about how I think they're moving towards a heliocentric offense. I don't want that to happen, but it looks like that's where they're heading. Either way, if that's what they're trying to do, and they don't want someone else to just have a high usage or someone that will impact the ball movement or anything like that, combine that with what Troy Weaver said openly about Jeremy wasn't playing an efficient game and he had to change that, and then also not committing to extending him and saying basically if we get the offer we want, we will trade him. I think it's clear that Jeremy will be traded this offseason. I think we all accept that. I think it really depends about, you also could have said what you took from it was, hey, if Pelicans lose, we'll trade him to New Orleans. Or if the Pelicans lose, we'll trade him to Portland, who has New Orleans pick. If they don't lose, okay, now we might be looking at a little bit more sticky situation. We have to wait around longer. But I think everyone knows that's basically the plan right there, is for him to go to Portland with that Pelicans pick. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting that he came out and said, when he said the part about he had to talk to him about his efficient, the way he was playing his game and play a more efficient game, I started laughing because I was like, bro, that's funny. Because there's someone else who was saying that all season was catching flack for it. So I think I really found a lot of Troy Weaver's quotes and the things he said to be really insightful. Whether that was knowingly or accidentally, I thought that it was really insightful, and I took away a lot from it. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of the things that other players said moving forward with the podcast. Probably next week we'll talk about some of the things that we heard from other people. I really wanted to at some point talk about what he said about Killian Hayes, but we'll save that for another day. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about everything that you guys heard in today's podcast in the comment section down below. or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. Make sure you make Locked On NBA your second listen from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with inside analysis affecting all 30 teams. Again, thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. I actually want to leave this off to you guys. For all you guys who have made it to the end of the podcast, either on the podcast platforms or on YouTube, comment down below or tweet me at Kukia. What did you guys think about the Timberwolves celebration? I know you guys had to have seen that. There's no way you guys didn't hear about this. So let me know what you guys thought about the Timberwolves celebration. Because me personally, I thought it was cool. I mean, I'm happy for them. Like, Minnesota hasn't had nothing for like 20 years. And now Patrick Beverley like throwing his jersey and crying. Maybe that was a little too far. But overall, I don't have a problem with players celebrating and hyping it up, especially for a team like Minnesota. Like if it was like LA doing that kind of thing, okay, yes, then it would be like, what the hell are you doing? But it's Minnesota Timberwolves. They don't have much. They should celebrate everything they can possibly get. And it was a great game. So I don't have a problem with that celebration. But I do want to hear what you guys think about it. Because I think it's really interesting and it's a fun conversation. I thought it was extremely fun. And also let me know who you guys think is going to win the play-in these next few games, all the games happening on Friday night. Let me know all of that. But until I see you guys next week on next Monday, I'll see you guys then. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about off season here. Draft profiles coming up. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, stay safe, everybody, and peace out.